This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Friday, June 20th of 2025. It is the first day of summer, and summer is certainly coming in with a bang. We're so glad you can join us for today's show and hopefully stay a bit cool. In today's episode, I talked with Rob Brenneman. He is the president-elect for the National Pork Producers Council. I have a visit with him about what he's looking forward to as he serves as president next year. Also have a check of the closing markets with Curt Kimmel of agmarket.next. But first, here's my conversation with Rob Brenneman as we discussed at World Pork Expo. Rob, first off, tell us a little bit about being able to be in that position. You're going to be looking forward to hopping into the president position before you know it.
Yep. Yeah, it's just, you're in March, actually 2 years ago, I elected vice president. And so you follow the path and eventually you're president. So that's the process we're in. I'm president-elect this year. Started in March to March, and then next year in March, I'll be president.
So looking at the cycle of that, obviously you get a lot of time to get a lot of experience and then be fully prepared to step into that position.
Yeah, no, the way they do it is great. It's like a, quote, 4-year term, because you start out as vice president, you start learning. Not that you don't know anything when you start vice president, but you're learning, how politics work and how what your job could be when you become president. And so then the president-elect, you get a little closer, a little more time, and you learn a little bit more. And with the staff and with previous officers, you learn from them and what do you need to be working on. And, what we work on every year has changed. And when you become president, then, you got to jump on it. And then when you're past president, then you can help advise the future president and the whole board on things that they learned while they were doing it. So it's a great routine, really is.
And Rob, you mentioned that the things that you guys focus on change year to year, and I think between last year and this year, day to day as well. Between last year and this year, there's been a lot of change, at least in the financials for a lot of swine producers. There's a lot more optimism right now looking ahead for those producers in this economy.
Yeah, it's definitely a brighter year looking ahead, and even the first couple months of the year was brighter than we thought it was going to be. And, I think we attribute that. I think part of that's domestic demand. I have no doubt there's more people eating pork. And the flavor of pork we're putting out today with the quality of the meat we're producing, as far as I'm concerned, is the best it's ever been. And, we focused on quality. Started that probably 3 or 4 years ago through genetics and how we feed pigs. The quality of pork you buy today is way better than it's ever been, even in a grocery store. And, of course, granted, we have the fortunality of using our own pork. But I think that's been part of it, and so that's helped increase demand, and that helps improve prices and exports. We've had a couple months here with a little bit of battle with some tariffs, but we've managed to maintain. But up until then, we were having great exports, and we would like to believe that those will pick back up. So I think there's optimism in the whole thing, way more than we've had for a few years.
And Rob, of course, with things that do change, there are a few things that haven't changed, and that's specifically we're looking at still waiting for a new farm bill, still waiting for solutions for Prop 12 and everything. When it comes to the legislative side of things, how is that battle looking right now?
Well, just exactly you used the word, it's a battle. And, it's out of our hands. All we can do is influence and persuade and try and say, hey, come on, guys, let's get this done. The farm bill is a big key, a huge key in the Prop 12 situation, and also trade and tariffs and all that stuff. The farm bill ties right in. We've got some things coming out of the farm bill. They're going to reconciliation. That's going to help us, but we just need the farm bill over the line, and then we know what direction we're heading, big time. So, and what was the other question? That was it.
I think you got all of it right there. Yeah. So, and then of course back to being at World Pork Expo here. Plenty of producers, plenty of people from across the globe really here.
Yes.
It's a great opportunity to be able to talk to those people and see what exactly they want in that legislation.
Yep, and that is a fact. You get to talk to people because people know that, that you are involved in the ability to legislate. So they come in and, they just stop you and as you're walking along and say, hey, what about Prop 12 or what about tariffs or what about all that stuff? And you have the opportunity to explain what you know at the time. Now, in an hour, that could change. But at least you have the opportunity to know what's on their minds, and they aren't afraid to talk about it. And they don't come to just talk about that. They come to learn, to get better at their business and make a better product and make it more cost effective. But in the meantime, we learn and they learn. It's a great opportunity. Talking to producers yesterday was awesome. It's been most of the day in meetings, but still, we had a couple big meetings and the house was full. People want to know how they can be competitive, and how can they compete, and how can they be better. They're asking questions, and that's what we want. But the optimism yesterday, I felt, was as great as it's been for 5-6 years.
And for any producers or really anybody else who hasn't been able to be at World Pork Expo, but they still want to stay in touch with the National Pork Producers Council and make their voices heard, how can they do that?
Well, they can do that through phone calls. I'm not afraid to take a call. I'm 24/7. So if anybody's ever got a question, call me, call Brian, call the office and have somebody will address your questions or concerns or your positives or your negatives. We will return calls, and I know I will, and I know everybody else involved will. Any one of the officers, they'll take a call, then we can take it uphill or we can tell them where to go with it. And we're open to communication. There's nothing we aren't afraid to hear about.
That again was Rob Brenneman, President-elect of the National Pork Producers Council. We'll take a look at the closing markets next, but first, here's a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and it's time now for the closing markets with Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. First off, Curt, what do we see going on in the grains on this Friday?
Well, we finished a little lower on the day. Basically, just ran out of momentum here. Corn 2 to 4 cents lower. Wheat market, bean market down about 7 cents for the most part. On the weekly chart, that July corn down about 15 cents, December corn down 1, just still losing momentum in the front. I kind of like that bull spread, but it's just not working at all. Beans finished mixed on the week. Wheat actually, Chicago wheat finished up over 20 cents on the weekly chart. But weather, kind of a mixed bag for the corn and beans. There's some moisture around. We're going to get some heat. We actually need a little heat as long as it doesn't stick around or the high pressure ridge kicks in and holds in. Then as far as the warm weathers help get some of this wheat crop dried out. Boy, there's some wheat areas that's been pounded and just not very good shape at all. So weather's the main factor. We'll see how that unfolds. But the feature here in the last part of the trade today was July options on the grains. That's the puts and calls. They went off here today, and we're in a situation where we'll see some open interest go down as everybody matches up the puts and calls in the future. So it'll be interesting to see how much open interest we lost as those are squared away here over the weekend there, Riley.
Then I guess in more detail, when we have, option expiration like that, how exactly does that affect, trading volume, activity? What are all the impacts that we usually see from it kind of switching over like that?
Well, today's first day of summer, so we got the atmosphere kicking in here too. But often what happens is the computers or the bigger traders, option traders, take the opposite side. So what they do is they kind of look to see where the open interest is and have the market shy away from that, where the options expire worthless. We had quite a few options on call options. We sold about all the grain and we replaced with call options. And the trade pretty well knows that. And now if those options expire, now the market will probably go up. So that's usually how it works. If you do the opposite of what we do, you have the tendency. But we pushed a lot of risk in these options, sold cash grain at some higher levels, had anywhere from 5 to 10 cents on the table. But oftentimes, once the option expiration is done with, usually you see some type of move after that.
Then over on the livestock side of things, how did cattle and hogs trade today?
They were kind of a mixed bag. Cattle down, fats, beef sector down $1.80. On the weekly chart there, we followed through to the downside on last week's weekly reversal down. Hogs were up about 50, 60. They're trying to hang in there. This afternoon here, we'll have the cattle and feed report. On feed's about 98.8%, placed 94.2%, marketing's about 90% is what the estimates are. Still dealing with tight numbers. We've got the 4th of July weekend coming up. We'll see how retail movement takes place. The weather-wise, a little warmer as long as it doesn't get too hot. We're looking for a lot of cookout featuring to take place as we enter that 4th of July weekend.
All right, Curt, lots of great information today. For anyone who would like to get more marketing information from agmarket.net, how can they do that?
You can go to agmarket.net, click on Intel. They got a lot of info there, or else give us a call. We're in Central Illinois at 1-800-779-1515.
All right, Curt, thanks again for the time as always, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Have a good weekend. Take care.
That again was Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how the numbers close through the market window at iowaagnet.com.
July corn down 4 3/4 at 428 3/4. July soybeans down 6 3/4 at 1068 even. July soybean meal down 80 cents at 284.10. Soybean oil down 30 cents at 54.47. Chicago wheat down 6 1/2 at 567 3/4. Kansas City hard red wheat down 8 even at 563 1/4. Minneapolis wheat down 7 3/4 at 638 1/2. July oats down 2 1/2 at 360 3/4. On the Merc, August live cattle down $1.85 at 209.82. August feeders down $1.72 at 302.45. July lean hogs up 60 cents at 112.77. Pork cutout up 25 cents at 121.25. And July class 3 milk down 14 cents at 17.54.
That's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM, and that also brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media at Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM/PM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Check out as well our free morning, midday, and closing market podcasts, as well as the Iowa Ag Matters podcast and Pots of Potential. Find those on your favorite podcasting service at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network broadcasting crew, thanks for joining us today. This has been Ag Matters PM.